share computer sound, just. Okay, now, can I just get a physical thumbs up? You can all see my first slide towards a cyborg pedagogy. Lovely. Okay, good. So, I work with Jess at the AIM here in Barcelona, and I've also got a website, betterlanguagelearning.com. So to begin, probably the easiest way to do these polls throughout the presentation is with your phone, using the QR code if you've got the software built in on your phone, or you can use the address slido.com and the code P072. It's not an O, it's a 0. So I've got 3 quick questions to find out about your profile, who you are. Okay, so far. Okay, so mostly people in Spain, a couple in the EU, elsewhere. Okay, mostly university and adults, other, okay, some secondary, okay. And, okay, so it got a lot of enthusiastic people. Okay, I guess the skeptics got one look at our program and said, I'm not coming. Okay, so, and then we got some people, maybe some still, obviously, none of us feel entirely comfortable. So here's a video. I want you to guess. We're gonna watch and then discuss.
You read me,
the
Hal?
video.
Do you read me, Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
So, do you know which film is this scene taken from? No idea? Yes. 2001 Space Odyssey. Good, yes. Hal. Yes, Hal is that creepy computer with the red eye. Yes, okay, good. Now, how would you describe the relationship between Hal and the astronaut? Yes. Oh, I love this. Yes. Very emotive language. I like this. Yes. Okay. Yes. So bossy and demanding. Yes. Mistrust. Who's the boss? Well, I don't think there's any question who's the boss. It's not the human being. Okay. So lovely. Okay. Now, in a recent talk, I heard someone speaking about artificial intelligence, and I was thinking, what about, we seem to be talking a lot about artificial intelligence, but what about human intelligence? And what is our relationship What's the relationship between our use of technology and human intelligence? And this is where I came up with the idea of a cyborg pedagogy. Now, if you've heard, maybe you're not familiar with the term, if you have heard of cyborgs, what sorts of images, what sorts of connotations come to mind? Star Trek, science fiction. Enhanced robot, half human, half machine. Doctor Who. Yes, memories of childhood, watching the television. Okay, lovely. Okay, so, okay. It seems very neutral though. Yeah, okay. Terminator. Okay, yes, Terminator. Yes, it's come to destroy humanity. Okay, yes. So there's also sort of, again, this thread of something a bit undermining, a bit creepy, a bit dangerous. So is this us? Is this our future? And here is a definition of a cyborg taken from Wikipedia. A cyborg, a portmanteau of cybernetic organism, is a being with both organic and biomechatronic body parts. It applies to an organism that has enhanced abilities due to the integration of technology that relies on feedback. Now, my question to you is, are we already cyborgs? So, you, on a Monday morning, madly, well, in the olden days, making photocopies. Well, to what extent, I mean, the photocopier is in a way an extension of you. So this idea of technology, the fact is, maybe we're already cyborgs and we just haven't realized it. Taking a little detour through philosophy. So according to the philosopher and media theorist Marshall McLuhan, many of you may not have heard of him. He was so famous in his time that he had a cameo role in Annie Hall, in Woody Allen's film, probably greatest film ever. He was that famous for many years, and I think with good reason. And if you want something that's not directly EFL rated, but it's incredibly stimulating, there are several of his lectures on YouTube that, in my view, are mind-blowing, and we should all be watching them to think about how we're using technology. So according to him, the media are an extension of the human central nervous system. In his book, The Gutenberg Galaxy, in 1962, he wrote the following: "This externalization of our senses creates what Desjardins calls the noosphere, or a technological brain for the world. Instead of tending towards a vast Alexandrian library, the world has become a computer, an electronic brain, exactly as an infantile piece of science fiction. And as our senses have gone outside us, Big Brother goes inside. So unless aware of this dynamic, we shall at once move into a phase of panic terrors, exactly befitting a small world of tribal drums, total interdependence, and superimposed coexistence." Maybe this final bit, the more dark political aspect, can go at the quick Q&A at the end. So going back to the essential elements of a cyborg, so we've got enhanced abilities, integrated technology, and feedback. I want you now, you've got a couple of prompts. How important are the following to your identity as a teacher? Okay, so we see your face and your gaze. Yes, obviously, most people are saying that it's really important. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Okay, now, your voice, again, pretty important. The SLA research you've read, Oh, okay, that's interesting. Somewhat important. Okay, it's a revealing figure. Okay. Now, the tech tools you use with your learners. Okay. Again, kind of neither here nor there. A bit of a mixed bag. Okay. Now, yes, is there someone wants to say something? Okay, so my question here, we're going to be going into breakout rooms, and before we do so, I've just got a couple of questions. Basically, my first question is, do we still have a print media mindset? And this is what Marshall McLuhan got me thinking about, this idea that when a new medium emerges, initially it ends up being used in the ways that the previous medium was used. So my question is, when we teach online or in a blended context, are we reproducing old patterns, and to what extent do they fit the new reality? Secondly, are we taking advantage of the potential of online media for learning? And are interaction patterns top of mind when using tech? So I guess it's the idea of putting pedagogy before technology. So now I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. And before we go into the breakout rooms, I want you to scan the QR code or use this shortened URL, which will take you to a Google Doc for you to, you've got the questions there to discuss, and you can take some notes in your breakout rooms. So take a moment now, and I will also share this address using the chat box. Or Jessica, can you put, do you want to put the participants in the breakout rooms?
Okay, just a second.
Sure.
Actually, Sean, I think you have to do it because you're the host. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Right. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Breakout rooms. Okay.
Hello.
Hello, hi, how are you?
I forgot to notice which breakout room we're actually in.
We're in 5, I think.
I think 5.
Okay.
Hi, Wendy.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, look, we've got an EIM heavy group here.
Yeah.
Hi,
Coincidence?
Catherine.
We have some questions.
Well, I've got Tom talking next door, so
On the,
I'd better turn my
I think it's called Towards the Cyber Pedagogy.
mute off.
3 questions.
Right, so we've got some questions to talk about, right?
Yeah, I've just opened them on my phone with the
Okay.
QR code.
I can't see the QR code anywhere, so I can't.
I don't know what's going on with you, Tim. It should be on the left-hand side of the screen.
Now?
No, not now, but when we were back in the main room.
Right, okay.
I don't know.
Well, never mind. I've got, the first question is, what limitations or challenges are there to using a course book online? Do we have to write in the document? No, we can just, we do. Okay.
Some notes, yeah.
Right.
Do we just do it as a group though, or do we each do it as a group?
Yeah.
Wendy, can you write?
Well, I've got it open on my phone.
I have as well, but it's not letting me write on it.
No.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. We could just brainstorm, really.
Okay.
Should we just talk about it instead?
Yeah, I can't write on it either, actually.
Somebody writes them.
No. Maybe we should just talk about it. Has anybody used a course book online now?
Well,
yeah, with lockdown, we had to.
Yeah.
And still, I mean, with the English file digital book, I'm still using it.
Right, because I'm running a CELTA course. working on a CELTA course, and we're using a course book online, but we're not using the digital version. You know, we've just got kind of PDF basically is the, you know, and then we send the students the material. So
yeah, I'd say the limitations I've noticed is really just that you can't share it. You know, they can't all contribute to that.
yeah,
You've got it on the screen and they've got the physical book, but it doesn't make much sense. Sort of, they're still constantly looking at a screen, looking at your screen. If there's something more interactive,
and
it'd be much better.
Sometimes you want them to be interactive, and they're both, you put them into breakout rooms, and because they're looking at something physical, they're not looking at each other on the video, you know. So you want them to talk, but they're actually writing at the same time. I found, Oh, bless you.
Catherine, where are you based?
I'm based in Barcelona. Yeah.
Are you at IH?
I'm not. I have worked a lot for IH, but I'm not for IH. I'm freelance. I'm a freelance CELTA trainer.
Okay.
But I usually do CELTAs for IH in the summer, actually. So that has an impact on me, what's happened. Yeah. And I did my Delta there as well. So it's kind of my spiritual home here in Barcelona for teaching and stuff. Yeah.
Are you Catherine McFarlane?
Yeah. I also think a lot of course.
Yes, I know your name. It's just I've never.
Yeah,
I don't think.
I think we've met before at different conferences and things. Actually, I've been to a few of your talks. I think. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm going off track.
That's okay. Next one. Teaching materials change since going online. Well.
What was the question again? Sorry, I can't see them.
Has your use of teaching materials changed since going online?
A little bit. You can't do melee activities, can you? Really? They don't seem to work. Probably the one that you can't use. But I think most of the things you can sort of think of a way of doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think sorry, when you go.
Sorry, yeah, just, I mean, I found that it's just been taking out certain questions, giving them the questions, and it's all a bit basic. I think that's what I found. You know, kind of hoping for, I mean, I know that the publishers and everyone are working on this, you know, some sort of better platforms where it's a bit more attractive as well, rather than just, here's a Word document, here's some questions. Maybe it doesn't really matter, but really just trying to break it down, because all those communicative activities where you cut the piece of paper in half, obviously you can do that in a different way. But yeah, you know, scanning and just doesn't seem like the best way to do things. But I suppose we're a little bit behind.
I mean, my materials have changed because I'm doing the CELTA, so, you know, before I would have just handed out pieces of paper, and now I'm having to prepare slides, and you know, so I'm finding myself, I am using much more online stuff, you know, so I'm using Padlet, I'm using Quizlet. This morning I used Jamboard, I think it was for the first time, because I feel as though I've got to, even though the trainees don't need to use these things in their classroom, I feel as though I've still got to kind of model things that they might be doing after the course, because they might be teaching online after the course. So my material as a trainer really has, the materials I use really have changed online. You know, I still use the odd Word document, but I tend to be using slides, whereas before I wasn't a big fan of slides in the classroom at all, and I've had to teach myself how to use them properly to get students talking, rather than just, you know, you don't want the teachers just to be talking through a slide, you know.
Yeah, but I agree with you. The PowerPoint, I think during lockdown I spent so much time making PowerPoint presentations, and I'm not sure if it was really the best use of time, to be honest. But obviously at that stage, you know, the students all have a book and we were adapting, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
the other thing is that because you're so nervous at first when you're teaching online, you feel as though you've got to have something as a framework, you know, so your slide kind of helps you. Whereas I think maybe now that we're becoming a bit more used to teaching online, I'm finding that I can be a little bit more flexible because I feel a little bit more comfortable with the technology. Not much, but a little bit more comfortable. So I feel easier now to say, hold on, let me just find that document for you. Whereas in my first lesson, there's no way I would have done that. It would have been, these are the slides and this is what we're going to be doing in this session, because I wouldn't have known how to do it on the spot, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found one thing, you can use the camera sort of for a lot of activities, which I didn't realise. You can just sort of show them the book or something like that, and they can just take screenshots and stuff. I mean, it does.
Yeah, I've got a wee mini whiteboard here that I use.
Yeah, no, I've got one of those as well. Yeah, they're really good. Yeah, and I find it, if you can combine it with if you've got a WhatsApp group, just photographs just works really well, and it's really quick. So you've got the textbook there, you just a quick photograph of the questions and sort of send it them.
Right, that's a good idea actually. I'm not on WhatsApp with my trainees just because I think
a lot of people.
I was online 24 hours, I think, but I can imagine the students it'd be really handy. You know,
I've got a teaching phone which is completely separate to my sort of personal phone.
Right.
All my student WhatsApp groups are on there, so at the weekend it just gets turned off.
That's a great idea.
Great idea.
If you've got an old phone, any old phone will do, you know. And
that's true, actually.
Yeah, and you can set up a WhatsApp group without actually having. It hasn't got a SIM in it or anything. You don't have a SIM in it for it to work. It only works on Wi-Fi. So,
Wow.
And I find that really, really useful. You just like click, click, and the students use it as well. Like if I'm using the presentation tool, some of them haven't got the book. Either they haven't bought it or they've left it in at work in the faculty or something. So what happens is I put up the presentation tool, and they're just taking photographs of it and sending it to the WhatsApp group. So then when they're doing the speaking activity, you can see them. They're just like they've got the phone there with the questions, and they're asking the questions over the internet. So it means that they are, they're not looking at lots of things. And two screens as well is really good. I've got two screens.
Thank you, Tim. And this is a brilliant idea because I did this research about WhatsApp a couple of years ago. Do you remember?
That's the talk I was at.
Yeah, and everybody was asking me, what about privacy? What about privacy? I wish I'd known. I should have spoken to you later.
No, it's a great idea, and also they haven't got your phone number, they haven't got anything, you know what I mean? They've just got this.
They've got our phone number, but it's not.
The only group that I've got is our EMI WhatsApp group. That's the only thing that is on my normal phone of all my WhatsApp groups.
Can I just ask what EMI is?
EIM, I think. No?
EIM. Sorry.
What is it?
It's us. Escola de Idiomas Modernos.
Ah, right. Okay. I was for some reason thinking in English. That's right. Okay.
No, it's no record company.
No.
Okay, I think we have to go back now.
Are there any more? That's the question's gone.
Yeah, let's go back to the main room and I'll see you there. Okay.
Yeah. The Brady Bunch is back. Okay. Okay. So again, this is one of those things where I've got you recording things in text, but because we've got so many breakout rooms, I'm not going to get too distracted by going. I actually did pop in, so I'm just going to mention a couple of things and you guys can jump in. So Ailey, I thought mentioned something. Is Ailey, is that how you pronounce it, I hope? A waste of context. So saying that actually the internet, that using online resources, there's actually a lot that we can take better advantage of. Kiva, again, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing that, saying that a lot of time is wasted on, or spent on dealing with technical issues. For example, I've realized I need to teach my students, I've been doing this morning, telling everyone, when you're in a breakout room, the minute when you see the option to reconvene, click on return to main session. Otherwise, if you're doing a communicative lesson with lots of breakout rooms, you can spend 10 minutes of a lesson just waiting for people to come back. Lots of things. So Tom talking about maybe the PPP dynamic with course books not working so well online. So now let's I'll return to any comments? Anything that's any burning? Yes.
We were talking about, sorry, is that okay if I say? We were talking about how much clearer you have to give your instructions to students online, because especially if it's not a synchronous session, it's, you know, if you give slightly vague instructions, students will go off in a completely different direction. And so they need to be much clearer. And you need to think of all the things that might go wrong. You need to have training in insurance, basically. You have to think of all the risks and try and anticipate all of the things people might get wrong. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, we'll get to how we can deal with this in a bit later on. But that's okay. So my experience, again, I don't want to suggest that I've come up with some magical formula. Of course I haven't. It's just we'll take tidbits from each other. And so one thing I started doing actually well before lockdown is I'm really keen on dogma. I think the name is unfortunate, but I think the concept is strong. So even before I was online, I was really keen on recording emergent language. So having a Google Doc that you share with the learners, a single document from the get-go, in which you record all that emergent language that comes up in class that's so valuable. And so here's just a very bare bones procedure, let's say. You have that initial document which you share with them and reuse. For example, in a Zoom session, I don't use the whiteboard tool, I use a Google Doc. And the idea is, as I said, to use it as a repository for Lexis, error correction, anything that you're doing. So it's your whiteboard. And in a way, it's also your course book, I think. And you also leave time at the end of class, because again, people are talking about teachers, and I think Jackie's going to talk about the issue of taking our needs into consideration, in the sense of making this, you know, being pedagogically sound in our approach, but also not overwhelming ourselves with an undue workload. So, for example, just the way we often don't give people enough time to think before we jump in, we often don't let students consciously say, okay, leave the last 10 minutes of the lesson for them to decide what they think was worth retaining, and that should go into the document. And that takes some of the onus, the burden off of you, so it should be. And then what I'll do is typically prepare some gap fill sentences to review the words, chunks, or structures that were done in the previous lesson at the beginning of the next class. And you can, again, if you're feeling ambitious, try occasionally using a corpus. If you're trying to write co-text for flashcards, as I'm going to talk about, sometimes it's good to double check our instincts by looking in a corpus like COCA, the Contemporary American, whatever, Sketch Engine, etc. Okay, and teaching learners the importance of spaced retrieval using something like Quizlet, conducting periodic review sessions. One fantastic thing, I think it was, well, one of you was mentioning feeling that just feeling overwhelmed and tired. And a very simple dynamic is these periodic review sessions. Put learners in pairs in breakout rooms and have them test each other using a class set. Just the way I have a class set of notes that gets put into a parallel main set of Quizlet items, which can grow to be a couple hundred items long over a year. And in a pollination webinar a few months ago, he's talked about in his literature, in his publications, about devoting a third of your class time to review, which is massive. I thought I did a lot, and I almost wanted to kiss him when he said this, because I thought, oh, I could do even more, and I won't be an irresponsible teacher. I won't be a lazy teacher. And he talked about how a doctoral student has studied the impact of having that putting people together and having them test each other, and that sort of positive impact of peer pressure. So like I said, that's a way of the idea of teaching less and reviewing more. If our goal is not so much to teach, but to ensure learning. And so here's an example. These are just some notes. My Google Doc notes they don't start out clean at all. It's a mixture of English and Spanish, maybe occasional Catalan word. if I'm feeling ambitious, okay? And then it gets kind of cleaned up for the next session where I do some gap fills. And then you can bulk import those into Quizlet. And here's an example. Let's say you're teaching the phrasal verb put forward, and you're thinking, well, what would be the best examples? And so here you can use a corpus, and it kind of, you immediately get, plan, proposal, idea, argument, theory. So here's, like I said, this leads into Quizlet. A previous iteration of this talk, I was thinking, Quizlet is not just a flashcard application. It is a palace. It needs more promotion. It is an entire language laboratory in your pocket. And I realize that maybe language laboratories have a bad name because, I don't know, audiolingualism, behaviorism, but I don't really get what's so bad about behaviorism, but I'm clearly not educated enough. I need to be, I think it can be resuscitated. So basically all these amazing functions that we used to need massive rooms to accomplish, we can do it with, and better, with a student's mobile phone. So these flashcards, you can integrate images, diagrams, and GIFs even. And with young learners, there'd be some amazing stuff with movement. Scott Thornbury's text about mirror cells in the brain, and how using movements, so getting students to record themselves. We could have animations and flashcards for young learners. That would be really fun. The text can be read aloud with an artificial voice or your own, so you can work on intonation. And even the artificial voice now has connected features of connected speech. You can enhance the cards typographically. You can generate quizzes. You can monitor their learning. And you can also have Quizlet Live, which is now available online. So you can have them compete against each other, which is sort of like Kahoot, but better in my view. It can also be used to work on grammar. It's not just vocabulary. You can turn grammar exercises into flashcards. And so you're allowing multiple encounters and encouraging automaticity. And here, each of the light colored cards is one side of the dark colored cards, the gray. So just to show you some different grammatical structures. Can anyone volunteer a grammatical structure that might be related to one of these pairs? Anyone? Okay, so that inversion, for example, I had never felt so afraid before, never had before had I felt so afraid, and I think you get the idea. Now, using corpora. Because those of you, as Jess mentioned, people are concerned about assessment. How do I test? If saying, I have to learn new technology and you want me to go dogma, so what if you want is predetermined? What if you want some sort of at least partially predetermined syllabus? So there are lots of corpus-derived lists of high-frequency vocabulary, which we can turn into Quizlet sets. There's the list of the 150 most frequently used phrasal verbs in English, and even breakdowns of the percentages of the different uses of those phrasal verbs. The co-text that they did is not very good, I must say, in my view. So but that's a project that's on the back burner. The idea is you would have to write good co-text for it, but we know what the 150 most common phrasal verbs are. We've got similarly, we've got the multi-word units like at all, or any kind of chunks that are not transparent that if we want to teach them systematically, we've got that list as well. I think it's 500 items. We've got another gem, which is the Cambridge English Profile. I love this. It's a corpus containing discrete grammar and vocabulary items. It's searchable by CEFR level. It's based on actual learner output, sort of a can-do approach. So, and many of the grammar items have a lexical flavor to them, and they also open you up to, there's this, danger of us often teaching grammar items because they're teachable, not because they're useful. And this corpus kind of brings to light the real way we use grammar that we kind of lose sight of when we're just used to the typical grammar items that we see in a course book. And a brilliant talk that illustrates this in very not simplistically, but simply, is Dr. O'Keefe's of the University of Limerick, her looking at learner grammar competency rather than error, what makes an advanced learner. And I know this is a bit off on a tangent, but I just want to point this out because this shows you how corpora do not just teach us arcane things that might be useful for the few of us who might be teaching advanced or proficiency. For example, she points out that one of the key differences between an advanced learner and a lower level learner is their use of adverbs. And I realized that if you look at our book, we do not deal with adverbs at a high, because I often wonder, and I'm sure many of you wonder, why our advanced learners somehow maybe just don't produce writing that feels natural. And then you see there's this incredibly simple realization, thanks to corpus analysis, that there's lots of work to be done in terms of, it's not just use of adverbs, it's the types of adverbs, the placement in the sentence. Is it a sentence head adverb? Does it occur in the middle of the sentence? Tons of work that could be done with this. Now, Flipgrid. I think I'm going to, well, I'll do my best to cover this. I know I'm covering a lot of things that maybe seem tangentially related. I'm trying to shoehorn a lot of different things together, and well, it is what it is. So this is connected to Jackie's point about, and I think it was Kiva's point about technical. A lot of our teaching is taken up with technical issues, and so we're talking about how Flipgrid is a video platform, not just for sharing speaking tasks, but also for sharing tutorials, because I think that's a huge area to be exploited. So this Flipgrid is a Microsoft product, and you can share short videos. You decide how long they are. So you can, they can be between 90 seconds and 10 minutes. Members, as students, they watch each other's videos and then give feedback using either video or rubrics. So I upload a video, and then Jessica can upload a video in response, or she can just tick a rubric, a default one, or you can easily set up your own rubric. You set a speaking prompt, and the prompts can be a combination of text, a video, or links to resources. They can be carried out, or usually the idea is this is good for asynchronous tasks, asynchronous speaking tasks. There's a performative aspect. I like to keep to short the videos, so they actually have to rehearse short clips. So they might spend an hour producing a 3-minute video, but you're not watching an hour of video, which is just not feasible, but you're scaffolding it. It's great because this, again, going back to the idea of the medium, video just provides so much more. Why this emphasis on essays when you can kind of get them to do it's kind of like a spoken essay. So you're giving them more feedback because you can give them feedback on their pronunciation, and you're delivering the feedback with your voice and your image. You can stipulate target language if you want to address avoidance. And you're also, if you're setting a topic where they're all students are responding to videos on the same issue, if you're stipulating language, then they're going to be getting the benefit of the narrow reading or narrow viewing in this case, because they're all going to be using similar or the same items. This is based on a blog post on my website, so I'm just going to go through this very quickly, and if you want more information, you can go to my website, and I've got several items, several posts about this. So this is an example of how Flipgrid works. So you've got your speaking prompt, which I've highlighted in pink. In the instructions, you stipulate exactly how many. So as Jack was saying, we've got to get crystal clear. Okay, reply to at least 2 responses. Okay, so the expectations are very clear, and then stipulate target language if you want. You can be. I mean, this is not the only way to go about it. and you attach resources. So this is also the idea of how tools can interact. So we've got Quizlet, we've got all these different, we've got Google Docs can be used synergistically with Quizlet, and Quizlet can be then fed into a speaking task on Flipgrid. We've got a Google Slides and then a link to a Guardian article. Okay. Here's another example taken from a YouTube video and worksheets from the Speak Out series. So they basically write a text, and then the idea is that they rehearse it, and I included an extension which reads the text out to them following features of natural speech, and they rehearse it and then record it. So this is not exactly, this is a very particular type of speaking task, which may not be suitable for your learners. So this is one way of how we can use coursebook materials to, these materials to quickly set up a well-scaffolded task. Like I said, it's a kind of a combination. They script their answer, they rehearse the pronunciation, and then they perform it before the camera. Now, this I think actually is really the exciting bit. Video for tutorials. On the desktop version of Flipgrid, you can record your screen instead of using your camera. And it means that it's a platform that allows you to easily record interactive tutorials on how to use technology in the classroom. And what's great about this is that your learners can respond with a video, and they can in turn share their own, say, I can't do this, this is not working, and they can share their screen. And so it's perhaps you might get to the bottom of the problem faster than if you've got a bunch of emails. You say, oh, I see you're using whatever software. So I'll quickly show you an example. So let's see how to make a very quick tutorial in Flipgrid by recording your screen. So here's the topic creation screen. I've given it a title, and there's a prompt. You can even have automatically generated closed captions, good for lower level learners. And now I'm going to choose the option record a video. Instead of using my camera, I'm going to choose the option down here, record screen. Okay. Now what I record from now on will be captured in Flipgrid. So I choose your entire screen. Okay. And as of now, this is recording. Okay, so let's see. I want to explain to my learners how to go about using Quizlet on a desktop. So let's say I want to, here's a set of vocabulary. Now, one problem is that learners, when they start using Quizlet, sometimes they see this main screen and they think this is where they study the flashcards, and then they get confused. Lots of little snags like this can cause problems. So now I'm going to explain the tutorial. Click on flashcards. Okay, and now you can explain different aspects of the activity. I might want to point out sometimes the definition and the term appear in the wrong order, so you might want to point out that there's these options at the bottom, and you can change which side of the card you see first, and that you can turn on the audio function so that you can hear the text read out loud. And it's done with an automatic voice generating software, which is actually quite good, and even has aspects of, what do you call it, connected speech. Yes, so these are like lots of little details, lots of little features that you want all of your learners to be aware of for them to get maximum benefit from this. So by creating this little tutorial that you've scripted ahead of time, which I haven't done today, but you're being generous with me, you will make sure to cover all of your bases. And that way, you don't have to repeat yourself 100 times. You can just refer your students to this tutorial that's been put on Flipgrid. There you go. Okay, now, okay, we're running a tiny bit short on time, but I do think this is, well, so what I'm going to do, instead of putting you in breakout rooms, we're going to do this just as a group. I want you to think about something very specific. It could be an aspect of it could be how to write a paragraph, but not necessarily. I want you to think about a skill. This is going back to what Jackie was saying. Think of something. It could be something very banal, but hold on. Where are we? Okay. I want you to think of a task or skill that lends itself to a tutorial. It can be something very small. Like I said, just question. Like for example, teaching them within Zoom to always click on return to main session the minute they see that button, so that we're not wasting our bloody time. Think of something that seems unimportant, but over time accumulates. So Jessica, do you think we have time to do a short breakout room, or?
I don't mind if everybody else is okay with it.
Okay, we'll do it very short, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to put you into breakout room. Just think of something that would benefit from a very methodical tutorial. And stop share and breakout rooms.
No, Jane, sorry.
Hello, hi again.
Hi again, Jessica.
Hi, I think we're in the same groups as before, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's probably easier to set up like this. Yeah.
Hi, I've got Tom in the meeting next to me. Sorry if there's a bit of background noise. Okay, so the idea is to think of things would be covered by
a
tutorial.
Yeah, being a man, I can't do either of them particularly well.
For our exams, you know, we did the exams online. That could have worked really well. Been really easy just to record the screen, wouldn't it? And rather than send them, or in addition to sending them a PDF, or anything to do with the campus, our campus virtual out, you know, the Moodle. Or any
actually just joining Zoom as well, you know. We've got the courses starting on Monday morning, the video conference courses, and I've had to put up a whole load of information about how to connect to Zoom, how to set up the My English Lab through Pearson. You could probably do that more successfully in this way, couldn't you?
Yeah, I'm sure you could, yeah. And
I haven't.
Yeah, I know, but with time as well, isn't it? I mean, but
but once you've got it done, I suppose you can use it again and again.
But how would
obviously, yeah, and one teacher can do it for everyone as well, can't they? So for an institutional level, I mean, I don't know how Sean finds time to do all the stuff that he does. You know.
Well, I think some teachers actually quite like doing it, don't they? So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do as long as it works first time. I get very frustrated.
Catherine, can you see how this could be used on the CELTA?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've used a different one. I've used something called Screencast-O-Matic.
Yes.
And I use it. I've used it to show the trainees how they can give verbal feedback on students' written work. You know,
it says Russell Stannard uses this a lot, doesn't he?
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably where I got it from. Actually, when I was grasping.
What's it called again?
It's called Screencast-O-Matic. If you Google Screen-O-Matic, and it's very, very easy to use. And I did it in my writing session when I wanted to show the trainees how they could give different ways of giving feedback to their students on writing. You know, you could use a correction code, but you could also record your feedback. Yeah, I could imagine using this to get them to fill in their CELTA 5s. You know, the booklet on the CELTA course. I could imagine doing a video like this to get them to do that, because there's no need for everybody to be all online at the same time for that. It's just takes up time, you know. And then you'd only have to do it once. Use it for every course, you know. As the time though, Tim, you're right. It's the time when you're not working to do all of these extra things, you know.
No, but if it is something you can repeat again and again, then
yeah, I know. It's just
give you time and effort later on.
When you've got the time, you haven't got the energy. When you've got the energy, you haven't got the time, you know.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, even, do you know, in the faculties, well, I know it's not your exact situation, Catherine, but they're recording the lectures now, aren't they? And so half of the students are going in one week and half are going in the other week, and you could do it on Flipgrid.
We're going to get cut off now, just to.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. I think Flipgrid it's app-based, which makes you think it's for young people, which is a stupid thing to say. But it's very well designed, even though I don't like Microsoft in general, but this is a very well designed product. And actually for older learners, I think it's good because, yeah, that's a very good, interesting for older learners, yeah. Other ideas? Maybe just one, yeah.
Carmen had an idea. Carmen had an idea. Go on, Carmen.
Okay, well, the thing is that today I have a lesson. That's why I entered the course later. And it was with a student of engineering, computing engineering, and we are working about how to explain an activity, an oral activity, where I want them to explain what is a computer. So my intention is that they record themselves explaining what is a computer using Flipgrid. I have already designed the activity, but today I asked them if they knew how to use Flipgrid, and they told me that they have never used it. So I think that it might be interesting to prepare a tutorial about how to use Flipgrid in order to do the activity, because there are some students that normally don't attend the lessons,
Yeah. And for young learners, they'll love it because you can make it visually appealing and there's all kind of cinematic effects. And also if you want to you make things salient, you can easily put a text box with the key expressions or things that and they'll love it. Like my students, they put emojis and they make it pretty and yeah, yeah. So I know that I've gone slightly over, so I'll just let me conclude. So that Jackie can have the stage. Basically, to try to unify this, so I think one important thing is thinking about how tools interact and kind of work synergistically, that together they have a greater impact than individually. That we can extend our reach. This idea of a benevolent cyborg, that if we make tutorials which have been scripted ahead of time, there's some amazing things about like the Khan Academy, MOOCs. And I think we don't realize, like imagine all the things that we've explained over, like maybe if you're in the EFL for a year, this isn't worth your while, but we're not in that situation. Oh, year after year, we explain the same things. Imagine if you took a couple of hours and explained it like as if it was it's your doctoral dissertation defense, or it's your Delta observed lesson. Imagine if you put that effort in every time and then could recycle that. It was like you at your best. And I really do think it's possible. I think we need to find a way to make this exciting for ourselves rather than an additional, like a have to. And also enjoying creating things that are visually engaging. And there's also this final concept about the idea of another portmanteau, the prosumer. So this is back in the 70s, they came up with this idea, the blurring of the roles of consumers and producers has its origins in the cooperative self. Marshall McLuhan and Barrington Nevitt suggested in their 1972 book, Take Today, that with electronic technology, the consumer would become a producer. And then in the 1980 book, The Third Wave, futurologist Alvin Toffler coined the term prosumer, which sounds awful, but when he predicted that the role of producers and consumers would begin to blur and merge. He envisioned a highly saturated marketplace as mass production of standardized products began to satisfy basic consumer demands. To continue growing profit, businesses would initiate a process of mass customization. That is the mass production of highly customized products. And there's a mass-produced product, I think in our case, is the course book. And I don't want to sound like too much of a Pollyanna, but I think we should all be thinking about making this transition from consumer to producer. Not because we have to, because it's a meaningful process. So thank you for your participation. That's my website. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's @SeanHutchman.
So thank you very much, Sean. I'm going to stop the recording now briefly.